Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Gwyn, and the Insider crew.
Well, hello there, and welcome to episode 102. We're here at PCA's national office. Around the table, of course, we have Manny, Damon Lowney, and at the controls, we have Robert Forsyth. I got to say, episode 101 got a lot of traffic, the one with Nathan and the market report from Arizona.
Yeah, I think, Nathan's always a good draw and thread it in with the market discussion. And
a winning combination.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I didn't do much car stuff on the weekend, but we did a lot of car stuff leading up to the weekend. But I'll put it over to you. How was your weekend?
We had a great cars and coffee.
It was good weather.
Very good weather. For the middle of February, I think we had almost 40 Porsches that showed up.
Wow.
It was like no one else got the memo to show up to cars and coffee, so it was pretty impressive. I think a lot of people are dying for an excuse to bring the car out. Our friend Rich showed up with his new to him 930.
Nice.
That he 84, I think 930 with slant nose. Great looking car.
And that's a dealer conversion car.
It was a dealer, Alan Johnson Racing, or Alan Johnson, the Porsche dealership. Mm-hmm. Supposedly were allowed, before Porsche started doing it all in-house, they were allowed to buy conversion parts from Porsche and do the conversion themselves. Very high-quality conversion. And one thing I learned was, so the 505 option, when it became the option code in 87, the front end looks like the chin spoiler of a regular 930. The 506, which means rest of world slant nose option, that has more of the air dam, nicer looking front end has room for the center oil cooler. But yeah, the car has the can interior, red can interior, is so bright, and there's so much leather that when I first looked at it, the sun was reflecting off of it, and I thought the headliner was red.
Oh.
Now I exclaimed, I go, "Oh my God, the headliner is even red!" And Rich said, "No, it's black." And then I realized I was looking at the sunlight reflecting off the leather, but the leather is like in phenomenal condition. The car is very impressive. So now we're going to find out, I guess, soon after he drives it for a while, is the compression really bad, or was it? Did they do it wrong and didn't read it right, or was there carbon on the heads because it sat so long? He said it pulled great, and yeah, we were there. We actually ended up, a bunch of us went over to the barbecue place and had lunch there. So it was like a 5-hour ordeal for cars and coffee.
So we were living kind of vicariously through him the week or two before, as he waited for the car to make its journey, in the car carrier and being delivered. He was sending photos. So in a nutshell, is he happy with it? Was a car
I think
as
he's
represented?
thrilled. And
he's
the
thrilled.
funny thing is, he was telling Bob Miller that Bob Miller shamed him because Bob Miller said that Rich had a collection of low-hanging fruit cars.
Oh, what?
And Rich will be the first one to tell you he always buys cars that nobody wants, or that are cheap so he can afford them. That's how he can afford these Porsches. So I think he said, "You shame me into getting something like very nice."
It's pretty much ready to go.
Yeah,
But it was still low-hanging fruit in some respects.
Well, I don't know. Turbo slant nose, that's not...
yeah.
Well, good for him.
It's not a early Boxer or a early 944. That's pretty high end. And I got to give a shout out to Chesapeake also. They did their. I wasn't able to go because it was my mother-in-law's surprise birthday party, but they did a slot car night again.
Slot car night. I know. I missed it as well.
Yeah, and I was so excited that it wasn't the same weekend as Tech Tactics, and I could go, but then I had to do other things. But
Family commitments.
Dan actually did a replica of the Las Vegas circuit. I told him he had to buy a little manhole cover
that pops up.
to later race. You can see it was a lot of kids.
That's awesome.
And they, of course, let the kids run separately so they don't beat the adults. And the adults run their own race. But it's great to see so many kids out there enjoying a little Porsche fun.
It's a great tradition that Chesapeake has. I mean, I remember growing up that slot cars, you would see them a lot more than today. And Damon, I don't know, did you? You probably didn't see slot cars.
By the time they were around, but
by the time you came around playing with cars, then you had remote control cars.
Well,
because it was kind of like
prior to I got into remote control cars, so I had an RC10 T3, and then I still have a Team Losi Triple X that's halfway built in my aunt's.
We need to finish it. Tell her to ship it, and we can finish it, and then we can run it.
Oh, I don't know if I don't want to send her looking through those boxes.
Oh.
Those have been
So the
long-term
slot car
storage.
thing, I was thinking we started it. It was a guy named Jim Bichek and I were collecting HO scale slot cars and trying to collect just the Porsche only slot cars. And there was a whole community of these HO slot car enthusiasts. This is before the internet, so it was just word of mouth. And I was getting to the point where I think I had every HO scale slot car you could get. I would go to shows and
Was that before 143rds, or did they have 143rds?
132nd.
No, but did they have 143rd cars for you to collect them?
If they had, it wasn't very popular.
Okay.
It was 132nd, and then there was some 124th that I think the 124th may actually be older than the 132nd. But 132nd, when they started popping up, they were so much more realistic than the HO. But when we were doing HO, of course we had track, but we wouldn't really race them that much. It was more getting the cars themselves. And Bob Gutyar, and I swear every time he comes up with an idea, I always think it's stupid. And he said, we should do a slot car night. And I'm like, no one's going to be interested in that. And Jim at the time,
You were wrong.
He was working for a defense contractor, so he knew some electronic engineers. And he asked him, how can we wire this track so we can make it really big and you have consistent electricity? So he borrowed some part. I remember, I think he even had tubes in it, something that would keep the electricity
Flux
constant.
capacitor.
I think so. And we set it up in Bob's. Bob had a big garage and he had a second floor to it. And so we announced that we were going to do it on the night before the Super Bowl. So we called it Super Slot Car Night.
Oh, nice.
Middle of winter, and we asked everyone to bring either a side dish or chili. And that way we were trying to make it as inexpensive as possible. And we were trying to encourage people to bring families, bring your kids. And so we set this thing up on the floor, and it was a blast. And so we did HO for like 3 years, I think. And then I happened to discover 132nd scale slot cars. Now they were so detailed, and I started buying those. And the internet was just coming into play, and I found for the internet someone who had an online store, and he was local, and he was telling me about his track, and he said, listen, if I can set up to sell cars, I'll bring my track, and you guys, it was 4 lanes, and I think we did it 1 or 2 years that way, let him sell cars, and he would bring the track, and then he called me one day and said, I'm getting out of the business, would you want to buy the track, the region? So I said, that's a lot of money, because he had, it was probably like at the time $2,000 or $3,000 worth of track. Called back, and he said, I think you can have it for like $300. Because I just want to get rid of it, because I'm getting into something else.
That's where the track came from.
I told the region, I'm like, you could sell it and you won't lose money.
Right.
So they bought it, and ever since then, I guess over 20 years now, we've been, I haven't been doing it, but people have taken over the responsibility of storing, which is most important, because it's a lot of track.
Right.
But doing I think we took it to a couple parades. At the Hershey Parade, we set it up and did slot car racing.
Very cool. How about you, Damon? How was your weekend?
Well, I'll start off first that Manny recommended a show that I watch on Apple TV Plus, For All Mankind. Oh my, that is...
You like it?
Oh my God, so good. I'm on the 3rd season
What's it
already.
about?
If the space race never ended after, 60s, 70s, so...
71 or 72, I think.
I think 69 was the first launch in this particular show, or to the moon at least. But the Soviets get there first, and then the Americans, and, I won't spoil anything, but what if the space race had never stopped? Really interesting, highly recommended. But I did do some car stuff. No car show. And at this point, I'll have Robert bring up some pictures for those who are watching on YouTube. If you've been listening to the past, 1 or 2 months of the podcast, you'll know that I'm trying to put in this IPD Plenum 82 mil with the GT3 82 mil throttle body. And if you go back to that first picture, actually, you'll see here the red line is where I want the AOS hose to go. And the green line and then the circle are where the connection is where the circle is, and the green line where I'm going to have to cut the one I was using. And then if we go to the next picture, This is the one that came on my car with the stock AOS. So it won't fit without modification, but what I need is some curves to go underneath the plenum. And if you're watching on YouTube, on the right-hand side of this picture, you'll see there's a curve, and then the little nozzle or connection on the end is facing the wrong way, but I'm going to heat it up, twist it, and I have some epoxy and plastic bond, and hopefully it works. So I bought another hose, $50, and I'm going to immediately chop it up and try and make it work. And we'll see. So this picture here is the cutting you had to do for the center radiator.
And it's cutting off on the bottom of the bumper
exactly.
cover.
So I'll be replacing right in front of those two cuts. There's a block off panel, and that'll be totally open. So the air will go in through the front and then down and out those two rectangles that I cut through.
Now that block off panel, does that just pop off, or do you have to cut it?
It pops off,
Okay.
and the kit I bought from Suncoast comes with both the 987 Cayman and 997 openings, which are slightly different. So I guess I'll just keep the 997 ones or something. But yeah, it just pops in with the opening, and yeah, those two cuts will let the air go out. So this here is where the oil cooler for the car was, and with the old seals. And on the left-hand side, I'm pretty sure is coolant, and on the right-hand side, holes are oil. And so I took it off, and you'll see them side by side in one of the next pictures. And it's just a cube, a rectangle sort of, and that is what is helping to cool your oil using coolant as a heat exchanger. So the one on the left is the medium-sized one, so I'm told, from the Cayman, base Cayman, and the right-hand side one is the 996 oil cooler. So you can see there's a lot more surface area, and that's where you get your cooling.
Huh, very
so installed it there. Looks pretty good. Had to cut the hose that attaches to the top a little bit so it wouldn't run into the intake runner. But yeah, it's getting there. It's basically fill the coolant, with the vacuum filler. I still need to put oil in the car, but it's just zipping everything up now, and then the AOS hose, and then it should be on the road.
There you go.
But we'll see how long that takes. So that's what I was up to.
So I brought a little show and tell. See if you guys can see what this is. Have you seen one of these before?
I have not.
So of course I was probably on Facebook or somewhere, and you know how oftentimes you're going for a connector and you have to pinch the middle of the connector, but your thumb is always too wide for the connector, and it's just a pain, and then you got to get your nail into it. Well, this thing is so you can go into that plastic connector, pinch exactly into the middle, get a good hold of it, and then pop it off.
Oh, nice.
$12.
Oh, that's good. Is that Harbor Freight? Looks like Harbor Freight.
No,
but
Amazon.
Amazon, okay.
Amazon. $12. Electrical disconnect.
Nice. Might have to pick one up.
Yeah,
We'll
there
see.
you go. All right, let's talk about. Actually, first, invite you all to, if you haven't already signed up for PCA's newsletters, we have various newsletters. You just head over to PCA.org, join eBrake News, Smart Fresh News, or Performance News. Performance News, obviously, focusing on the four-door Porsches. Sign up today at PCA.org, newsletter, and we'll get you set up. Let's talk about the time. You want to talk about the time we had at TPC first?
Yeah, I'm not sure when the video is going to come out, but it was pretty cool doing the video and seeing the differences, or maybe lack of differences, between the GT4 RS and GT4 RS Club Sport.
Yeah, the nice thing about being so close to, Tom Chan, Mike Levitas, TPC Racing is a lot of times they get something in, they invite us over, and within 10 minutes we have access to some pretty amazing cars. And in this case was the GT4 RS Street Car, and we're comparing it to the GT4 RS Club Sport. And as Manny said, man, it was pretty interesting. Not to give away the whole video, but it was interesting to see how similar those cars are, and thinking about one that's really for the street and one that's just race bred for the track. They are very, very similar in many ways.
Yeah. In typical Porsche fashion.
Yeah. And so that video should be coming out. And then we didn't talk about it last week because I guess we wanted to say we had a lot of stuff going on with Nathan. But the raffle has concluded, the fall raffle, and the winners were announced end of January.
Yep, I had them posted end of January, but we didn't promote it until we had the video finished.
Yeah. So I want to address maybe a couple of questions after we posted the video. So for the first time ever, we surprised 4 people in person, and we had 7 winners last fall. So this is a video, the compilation sort of all the visits, and people were like, probably the funniest comment was one was like, oh, this may not seem truly random because you were able to do all these videos together nearby. I'm like, nearby? One was in Ohio, one was in New York, one was in Virginia, and one was in North Carolina.
Yeah,
so
which we didn't surprise the North Carolina
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
That was the region.
But we have winners from, I think, Washington and another one somewhere else. So anyways, yeah, it is definitely truly random. We've actually gotten a comment that someone was very mad that a female didn't win. And I'm like,
I mean, that guy, we wish, it was,
we wish there were winners. We don't wish what gender wins. I mean, it's just the luck
all
of the
random.
draw. I mean, we've had female winners before, but that has no influence into how we draw it, which is kind of weird. Is for people to put that comment.
Yeah. We have a big raffle drum with business card size.
Yeah, so we make sure we draw for everybody as equal opportunity, and it's pretty.
So one of the comments says, "Why was there a regular spider with a bow in it?"
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
We don't obviously it's a newer model. That's what Porsche always wants us to give away, and that means that usually the dealer doesn't have that model, so we get the closest thing there is to it. Mm-hmm. In this case, I don't think there's an RS Spider in the U.S. yet. I haven't seen any. And even if they were us, the chance of us being able to get one to drive it to the location, very, very rare. So whenever we give away a car, you may see the closest thing to it, but not the exact car. Because they're not getting that car, they're getting basically a certificate or the option of ordering that car. Mm-hmm. So they get a build slot, and they can order it to any spec they want. They can pay extra and get PTS, get extra options. It's a pretty cool, kind of like a dream scenario, where I always tell people it's like you're giving a gift certificate for X amount of dollars towards whatever we're giving away, 911 or Cayman or Boxster, and then you can make it your own.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Especially for reveals that are in January, most of the time the weather is terrible. So, I don't even try to ask a dealer to provide us a car and take it out and mess up their clean cars. But yeah, the those that win, we basically have an allocation ready for them, and we find out what we thought was early on in the raffle development, like this is the best scenario for the winners, because you might not want guards red, or you might not want whatever color that we've chosen. So we have the allocation, we have a build, and that's sort of like the credit that you have to start the build of your car. Now you can't go from, say, a standard Cayman Boxster and then say, can I upgrade to a GT4 or something like that? Like, that doesn't happen. But what you can do is you can add the color that you like, any options that you like that we don't already have included. And also there's been times where somebody wanted a more like basic car and they've taken options away. And so it's quite flexible for a raffle, and that's why we don't show up with the car that might be exactly the one that they've won.
One year you could choose between a Boxster and Cayman, and we got a Boxster from the dealer, so we parked it inside the place we were going to surprise him with. And I asked him, I said, if you had won, which he did win, but we hadn't told him yet, I said, would you have chosen the Boxster or the Cayman? Figuring I had a 50-50 chance here. And, of course, he picks the Cayman. And so I said, well, you have to imagine this car has a hardtop because you won. And that's just how it works. It's the luck of the draw. So the other one was, let me get this straight, the guy won the raffle twice.
Yes, you read that right. This gentleman,
we were as shocked as you were.
And his brother won.
Yeah, so here's the thing is, this is a very lucky family. Again, this is all random, folks. Obviously the odds on the raffle are much better than Powerball because it's much smaller numbers. But Manny and I surprised him, I think, 12 years ago? 12 years ago.
14, I think.
Oh,
is what
14
you were
years
saying,
ago. That's
yep.
right. 14 years
Would
ago.
have been a 2010
First year Panamera.
Panorama.
Yeah,
Panamera.
Yep.
Yeah. 14 years ago, I remember going to his house and he wasn't home. He was at that time, working. And so when we drew the name, and I had just recently saw him on Treffin at Sea, the cruise in December, and I couldn't believe it. Like, that has never happened before. But, those are the odds, and it is random, and he won. So, and he is just a genuine, such a hard worker, and the nicest guy. And so if you think about, you can't really say only good people win, but it's really nice when you meet winners and they're super cool, super hard worker.
Yeah, we were all shocked when.
Yeah,
I didn't realize until you told me this was the same guy.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember the name from 2010.
I remember that,
but I did say, "Wow, what are the odds?" Of, but there's people who won the lottery. I remember seeing a video where the guy was recreating for the news channel about when he went to the gas station to buy his lottery ticket, and so in the recreation, he buys a lottery ticket, and he's like saying, and I scratched it off. And when he scratches off as he's doing recreating, he wins the lottery
no
again.
Way.
And it's just I did ask him. I said, has his luck extended to the lottery? Because in my mind, I'm saying we are going to the nearest convenience store,
right.
and you're buying me a Powerball ticket. But he said no. He says it's just cars. We haven't won the lottery.
Yeah, and as Damon mentioned, a few years after he won the Panamera,
yeah.
I pulled the same last name, and I'm like, what are the odds? And sure enough, it was his brother. So the most winning family in PCA. Again, crazy good people. I don't know how stuff like that happens. I don't know how the stars align for him, but they must have done something good.
Yeah, but the odds, if we reach X amount of tickets, we add another car, keeps the odds really good. And I want to say here, just doing some general math, that you have a 1 in 5,000 or 1 in 6,000 or so chance of winning a car, roughly. Yeah, which is really good.
And the thing is, if you talk to people that have won the raffle, more often than not, they always play. Yeah, like I don't think I've ever met a winner where they said, "Oh, this is the only time I bought a raffle ticket and I won." Like, even though Peter had won back 14 years ago, I said, so have you still been playing since you've won last time? I said, absolutely, every single one.
It's all house money now.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. If you want to win, you got to play.
Another one is not going to lie. It's a bit weird, cringy to be sticking in a house and surprising the winner in their own kitchen. Normally you would invite the winners to an event. Just saying. Now, as someone, who set this up, you're the one who... so evidently on the raffle ticket, I say evidently because we can't buy raffle tickets, but they ask for a name and contact number that if you win, that PCA can contact to arrange a surprise.
Right.
But I've been on many of these surprise visits, and it's very hard to plan because you don't want to tell the people this is what we're trying to do. So you're trying to genuinely surprise them. And I know you've always said the last resort is telling the wife, because odds are the wife is probably going to spill the beans before.
Or the husband. Yep.
Or the husband, is going to spill the beans before it happens.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that play to make the surprise happen.
Oh, sure. I mean, I probably could have been a detective because I use the internet, my powers for good, and I'm able to find a lot of history on people so that I can stage this. It is creepy in a way, but you know what? We feel like we got to go above and beyond to surprise our members. Like, just inviting you to an event and then saying surprise, like, I feel you might want to do that once, twice, or whatever, but we got to bring our A game to make it fun for people. And I'll have to ask. So the person that we creeped on was Bruce Wentworth. I'll have to ask him, how did he like being surprised in his kitchen? I'm gonna guess he loved it because he was pretty happy when we showed up. And we actually had a connection to that winner, Connor, who's our club racing manager, knew the family, and so they arranged all that. So we got a.
We wouldn't be entering the house like that if we didn't have Connor and
Yeah,
Chip,
exactly.
Henderson,
It's not
and
Dateline. We're not serving you a subpoena.
If we don't have that much of an inside line, then we knock on the door.
Then we knock on the door. Yeah, usually we're just knocking on the door, but at least it's a surprise at the door. But this one we could take it a step further because not only did Bruce know Connor and his family, but knows Manny from Club Racing. And he's a longtime PCA member. And I just thought that was cool. And then actually rewatching the video, I thought it was way cool.
So here's the thing as well is when we do these surprises for the raffle and capture them on camera, we want it to be exciting and as exciting as possible, not just for the people being surprised, but for the viewers as well.
Sure,
it's a huge part of how we get the word out of the raffle. And it's one of the big
And
benefits
why we
of
do
our
it.
club
Yeah,
and why we do it. So
I mean, there's whole shows just on lottery winners.
Yeah.
And what it was like when they found out and what they do. Because even if you buy the occasional Powerball or Mega Millions, and there's no one who wonders, if I win, what am I going to do? And how would I react? And who would I tell? And whatnot. So this is a small surprise. I think that it seems to go over well with the membership. They seem to enjoy the videos because we're not just printing names and numbers and saying these are the winners. You actually get to see the enthusiasts. Now, have you heard back from? Have we notified all 7?
Yep.
So all 7 now know.
All 7 know.
Do you have a ratio yet of who's picking cars versus taking the cash equivalent?
I was surprised this time because we have 3 winners that are taking the cash alternative, and the other 4 will be taking the cars. Yeah.
Cool.
The cool news is the person that won the grand prize, the Spider RS, taking the car.
Would hope so.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's a very desirable car.
Yeah.
I would be tempted to, if I could play and I won, I'd be really tempted to take the money, and my Cayman would be the most awesome Cayman ever.
No, I totally get it. I mean, some people say, oh, but if you were to buy the car and then you could sell it and then, you probably would have more money. True, right? But that's at least, I would say, 6 months to a year out because you got to come in, order the car, wait for the car to get there, get it registered, pay taxes on it, and then go through the process of selling the car to get maybe full value for it. Or you just say, I want cash, and then we wire $65,000 into your bank account. And then you could do the things you want to your Cayman, right? Because at the end of the day, you spent maybe a couple $100, and now you have this big nest egg. Even though it's not the full value of the car, it's just easier for people.
Money.
It's a lot of money that you can have, within the week. Yeah. So I totally get it, and it doesn't matter really to PCA which you take, whatever works for you, and you can enjoy it. You earned it, and that's that.
Yeah, I think it's. I remember the one gentleman out of Pennsylvania. I think it was the Boxer Spider. And you did your numeral spiel saying, hey, I know you're a lot of emotions going through your head right now. You just won. You don't have to make a decision today. Take a few days, a week to think about it, but just let me know what you want to do. And he didn't hesitate. He said, I already know. I'm taking the car. Because I talked about this with my wife. I ran the numbers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you ran the numbers before you knew you won?
Oh,
he goes,
people
yeah.
do that for
he
sure.
goes, I thought if I win, I got to be prepared to decide what I'm going to do. And he goes, I'm an accountant. I know. He goes, I'm taking the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Review kept on saying, well, still think about it. He goes, no, I don't have to think about it. He goes, I want the car.
Now, in that particular case, he did take the car, but there's been many a times where during, just after the reveal, people would say, oh, I'm going to take the car for sure, take for a car. And, I give the winners at least a month to think about it. And there's been times where, they were adamant about taking the car right after a reveal, but, a couple of weeks set in, or they talked to their financial whatever, and then they said, you know what, I think I'll take the cash. And that's totally cool. Whatever. Yep. So anyways, that's always a lot of fun. I'm working on the spring raffle, and hopefully we'll have some news shortly on what those vehicles will be, but surely it will be worth your $50, $100, whatever, if you buy 1 or 2 tickets, because that's all it takes to win, and we'll let you know soon on those.
Yeah, it's always a popular deal. It's a member benefit because you can only buy it if you're a member. I don't think it extends to test drive members. I think you got to be a member.
Have to be a member
in order to get it. And it's I wish we could. My wife asked me when she was like, now that you work for PCA, can you buy the tickets? And I was like, nope. Just like the EC, I can't I can't buy the tickets. So.
I play the BMW CCA raffle because I can't play the PCA one. But I will say thank you to Porsche Cars North America.
Yep.
Without their support, this raffle wouldn't happen. And there's a lot of behind the scenes that they handle to be able to deliver these cars through the dealerships, because the processing of these cars is very different from a standard vehicle sales. So there's a lot of people at work at PCA to help us with this. So thank you to them.
There's a lot of paperwork when you're running a legitimate raffle that you have to adhere to through the government to verify that it's a legitimate raffle. You got to keep documents and whatnot. So it's a lot more than meets the eye.
Down to the day that you announce it. That's why Damon was talking about earlier that we posted it on January 31st, because the raffle rules is basically the governing document of how we do things, and we can only do 2 a year, and we stay super, super strict to it. And it's just funny when people make a comment of how could it be possibly staged. I'm like, it's so far from it, is because it's so incredibly regulated. We do everything. The recipe is exact every time we do the raffle, and it's to be fun for the members, but also keep it very fair for the members. But at the end of the day, to keep PCA out of any potential legal issues.
So a little tip for those who really care about knowing who the raffle winners are right on that date. Just go to the news section, click news on PCA.org. Go to the news search bar and type in raffle, and the latest raffle post, so the one where we announce it, is updated with the winners. So if you're wondering where they are, we don't usually promote it until the video's done.
Right. And there's been times when members have called in, and we will tell them, to verify whether or not they have, whether or not they've won or not. We've done that too. But again, the reason why we're holding back and telling the world is we just want to make sure we've announced it to the winners, and then we give Damon some time to produce the video, and then we kind of make a bigger splash after that date.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into some news. And the first item was something that I had an invitation to go, but it was actually rescinded.
You did? Oh, I was going to say.
It was rescinded. It was rescinded because I think they realized how much it was going to cost to have us be there. And it is what it is. But, it was a little bit of very cool cars in a climate that you wouldn't normally expect to see them in.
It was in Colorado, right?
Yeah,
for this
Aspen,
particular
Colorado.
one.
So this is an event that was founded by Ferdi Porsche, who's Wolfgang Porsche's oldest son, I believe. And Wolfgang is the youngest son of Ferdi Porsche. So Ferdi started this in Zell-am-See, Austria, which is the hometown of the Porsche family. That's where they have their main house at. And they revived, if you will, what they used to do in Zell-am-See was ice racing. And it was a big hit for a few years there, so he has decided to extend it to the U.S., and they picked Aspen because, at least to the paperwork, it was supposed to have similar climate to Zell-am-See. From what I read in an article earlier, they were hoping to have the option of inviting the greater public and having tickets that were more affordable all the way to VIP, almost to a certain degree like the Super Bowl, if you will. You could get the VIP suites that cost a lot of money, or if you're a fan, you pay less, and you can still come watch and be part of it. Evidently, they couldn't get the permits or weren't able to do the lower price stuff, so they had to stick with the VIP to minimize the crowd attendance. But they still held the event. Hopefully, next year they will get that figured out, so more regular people can come, because I think people would love to see some of these cars. So the big news was they had the GT198, the one that won Le Mans in 98. And so this went to Porsche, or Porsche owns the car, but they set it up to run an ice race, which is really cool. They had to change the fuel injection management for that kind of temperature, change the tires. I think they even changed some of the aero. This is a fun race. It's not a championship race or whatnot. Even brought back Stefan Ortelli, who was one of the drivers who won Le Mans in 98, to drive the car. And that alone, I think, was worth the price of admission to be able to see that being run on the ice. And Ortelli said that he was texting pictures to his teammates from that year of what it was like, and they were all thrilled to see this car back in action again on the ice, in the snow, which is not the normal habitat for a GT1. And, of course, they had other cars. Patrick Long brought the Matchbox or Hot Wheels version of the Lufka Colt 914, the Safari edition that we saw at SEMA, I think, last year. They brought that to run on the ice.
So no Hot Wheels 944?
I don't. You know what? I didn't see any. I didn't see any unless it wasn't invited.
That would have been fun.
The Ingram collection. I saw Cam out there with the 959 Sport model. And he brought a 550 Spider. They were even wearing vintage-looking helmets. It was all very, very.
It's
cool.
definitely Instagram worthy. I mean, the scenery. I did notice. I'm assuming they mostly went to spikes for tires.
Yeah.
But I did notice on I think it was a Carrera GT, it had like a sock over the tire as opposed to spikes. And I wonder if that's because of clearance. Did you see that?
Well, they did have to raise the GT1 a little bit to clear.
Yeah.
They could be, but that sock thing. I think they used that for cars in the area to give you better traction.
Huh.
Yeah, no, it's so I watched. There's a channel called Tire Reviews on YouTube, and the socks are not the best.
That's what I heard too. That's why I was surprised.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised to see, and it was only for the rear.
Yeah, or the drive wheels, I guess.
The drive wheels,
I guess.
Huh.
Yeah.
So you hope that it steers in the right direction.
I guess
That's what I'm
so.
saying. Is you still need traction in the front. That's why I was like, huh. Yeah.
Yeah, but it looked very. At least the pictures I saw on Facebook and Instagram were pretty cool. Hopefully, someone captured it and going to do a video of
I'm
it.
sure there's some
Porsche
social
probably
media
had
that's
something.
Yeah, I
gonna
saw
come out
some
of it.
in-car from that Cam Ingram had captured from the Spider, and that just looks so ultra cool doing it. And there's a blue line that they paint inside the ice, I guess.
Uh-huh.
That's so because you first time you look at it, you go, where are they going? How did they know? Because it's all white.
Right.
But then you can see right there in the photo the blue line that kind of tells them where they're going to go. It's kind of like an autocross course without cones.
Yeah.
So you're just following instead of a chalk line on asphalt, you're following this blue line.
You know, I was hoping to see it. I didn't know if they were going to include this part of it. Was to have a rope tied to the back of the car and have someone skiing behind one.
Yeah.
Like like the
Yeah,
old.
they did that in Zalmzee, and
Yeah.
I think didn't Mark Porsche tell us that they were doing?
But I didn't see pictures of that in Aspen though. Did they do that in Aspen?
I didn't see anything either.
Yeah,
No.
I think that's cool. I mean, obviously what they're doing here is cool, but to see like the old school way they tie a rope, maybe lawyers got involved.
Yeah,
Said
yeah,
that's not a good idea to do in the States.
But that was a cool event. Hopefully next year they'll invite you again, and you'll
Willing
get
to
some-
go? Willing to
You
go?
got to get to that influencer status.
Oh.
'Cause there's a lot of influencers out there.
Yeah, I guess we haven't made it.
You know,
that
Dunkin'
far.
Donuts is selling the Dunk Kings
the outfits.
outfits and the hats, matching hats. So
If that's what it takes for me to get into the event, I'd rock it.
$100 and you can be an influencer. You and Ben Affleck.
All right, the next news item has to do with stocks.
Yeah, so I don't think anyone here is a stock person.
Yeah.
But it was interesting in the sense that this is Porsche Holding. It's different than Porsche. So it's although Porsche stock in itself, what I've been told, isn't doing that well either. But this is it's the article's about that it's undervalued because of the transition to EVs, and that's one of their concerns is how that's going to affect Porsche, which everyone's still, I think, cautiously optimistic that Porsche knows what they're doing and they have their strategy in place. But I think we're all going to watch and see how the Macan does in sales.
Mm-hmm.
So this article, the recommendation is to hold on to the stock. That's what this expert is recommending for Porsche Automobil Holding, and that's within Automobil Holding is their interest they own in Volkswagen, which of course Volkswagen's going even deeper with the electric vehicles. So yeah, it'll be.
So what are your thoughts on? I mean, I don't follow it closely, other marks, but I kind of read the headlines about EVs there being sort of a surplus on the dealer lots. Like, do we know if that's true?
It was.
Yeah, sure, because the new Macan's coming out. So it would only make sense, especially with electric vehicles, how quickly they change. It would be like the iPhone 16 coming out. Well, aren't they going to discount the 15 then? They're going to get rid of 15s as fast as possible because everyone's going to want the 16.
Right, but I
So
guess
with
what
the-
I'm asking is, are there a bunch of cars on the lots not being able to be sold?
There are. So we covered this, or at least I mentioned it, I don't know, I want to say a month or so ago. And back then, I'm sure it's a similar situation now. Internal combustion engine cars on dealer lots in general, not just Porsche, was they were on lots 30 to 60 days. And 30 to 60 days is sort of that sweet spot for dealers, where they have cars, they have stock. If somebody walks in, they can buy the car if they want, but they don't have so many that they don't know what to do with them.
Right.
Electric cars on average, about a month ago, again, it was 90 days, which 90 days not good.
Right.
That means
So
that they
the
have
turnover-
too many electric vehicles. Not enough people are buying them. They misjudged. A lot of, when I say they, I'm talking about most manufacturers who make electric cars misjudged how many people would buy them.
So we know dealers will discount, will give incentives to move the older models, as well as if you buy a certain amount, we'll give you more allocations for the desirable cars. So dealers, so when you look at the sales numbers will show that the Taycan did very well because they look at the sales numbers as when the dealer buys it, it's sold.
I see.
The dealer is sitting on it, and they're like, all right, we're taking it not out of our inventory, but we bought it so we can get more of the ICE cars, and we'll discount this because Porsche is giving it a discount for the older Taycan models. Otherwise, why would you want to buy an older Taycan model if it's not being discounted? So, you'll see all over the internet, and some people translate that into, oh, my God, I told you the EVs aren't working. No one wants them. I don't think you can get a discounted new Taycan when they're taking
Probably
orders for
not.
them. You're probably going because it's all new technology.
Right.
And I think it's going to be like this for at least a while because, once again, I look at it as phones. There was a point when every new iPhone was a huge change. I think nowadays they're very similar.
Right.
So,
right.
But before there was big changes. Where
That's why I
people
still
were
have
looking
a
at
13 when a 15 is already out, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not that big of a change anymore as it used to be. And I think of electric cars as things change. Solid state comes into being. The charging architecture changes. It's going to become more desirable, and the older ones are worth less money.
I think what's happening now too is just market forces in a free market and the economy. What's the incentive right now is fuel has gotten much cheaper than, let's say, maybe a couple of years ago or a year ago. It's a little bit more of an ask, I think, for people to buy an electric car when, one, the infrastructure isn't where it should be by now, I think. But also, if you can buy a gasoline engine or diesel car and run it more cheaply, I mean, that's probably the big consideration for somebody who's thinking of making the switch to electric.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it, at least.
So the next news item was kind of like a hot topic, and there was a lot of, I guess, opinions out there.
Speculation.
Misinformation.
And speculation and misinformation, and it has to do with Porsches at the ports.
Yeah. So Porsche has confirmed. So there's a lot of Porsche sitting at the port, and the rumor mill was that they had chips from Belarus. That Belarus is one of those countries that, like a Russian satellite country, and it's on the list of countries that I guess have embargoes or
Sanctions
on them. And someone must have tipped off the U.S. government that these cars had chips from there. And supposedly, this is the story. Porsche disputed that and told Jablotnik, I think.
Jalopnik,
that this was not true. It wasn't from Belarus.
Half of it was true. The chip does need to be replaced.
Yes, but they didn't agree with where it was from. And they're going to be replacing them with the correct chip, and then they can be released from port.
Do we know what cars are affected by the chip?
I don't believe the 718s are, or the Macans. It's 911.
I know a GT3 RS is being held at port. I know somebody through somebody.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
It's on the.
So,
we go.
thank you, Robert. Models affected include the 911, the Cayenne, the Panamera, and the Taycan. Only the 718 and Macans are currently free to transit through the ports.
The Cayman Boxer's okay, and Macan's okay. And
So
as someone pointed out, he goes, "How can you feel sorry for somebody whose Porsche is at the port?" And yeah, that's true. It's a 1%er's problem, I guess. But for someone who this is their first Porsche and they've been dying for this car, I feel really bad.
Yeah.
Knowing that your baby is out in the open.
Yeah.
Just sitting in a parking lot. Well, maybe not getting rained on, but maybe they are in California if they're sitting in California support. But nonetheless, hopefully they resolve it soon.
So I guess my question is, okay, let's say it is a computer or box that needs to be replaced. Where is it in the car, and are the ports equipped with facilities where masses of cars can come in and get this change done? Because in my mind, it would be like, well, deliver the car to the dealer and then just have the dealer do it. But they won't
let them out of the port.
They won't let it out of the port, so that means there must be some sort of facility.
They'll
at
hire
the port.
a company who'll come and
Oh wow!
Facility, or it's going to cost more money, I'm sure, to fix these things than normal.
Huh?
I mean, just a guess there, right?
Yeah.
it's
More
not gonna be-
speculation, but
not going to be a cheap endeavor. I would imagine at some point cars that are coming in aren't going to have this chip and are going to be cleared through. So if you happen to fall into that little gap of cars that need to have the chip replaced,
might take a while.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Huh. All right. Before we get into events, maybe if we can preview, we spent some time again this morning at TPC Racing. Sorry, Robert, I didn't send you any photos, but there's a pretty special car that we did a walk around with Mike Levitas, and Manny knows probably most about this car. He gave me the cheat sheet to be able to do the video, but yeah, take us for a little spin.
So we did a
with that
video
one.
actually last year comparing the Carrera RS versus the Carrera RS Club Sport with Bob Miller, and this was another Carrera RS. They only made 220 or 227, something like that. The number's still in dispute. Out of all the 1,100, I think, Carrera RSs they built only 200 and some Club Sports. And the Club Sport was a street legal car, at least in most of the world except for the United States. It has a full welded-in cage, matter cage in it. No interior. To anyone who looks at it, it's a pure race car.
Yeah.
It's there's no doubt about it. It has Recaro FIA approved race seats. Just like the Carrera RS, it has the aluminum hood and doors. Same engine as a Carrera RS. There's the little things that make it race ready, but it's very rare to see one. It's probably one of the most copied cars with the 993 because people put on the body kit, which is the front spoiler and the big rear wing on the back and the side skirts. It's all part of the package.
We all know somebody who made such a conversion, and it was a red
993.
yeah.
Yeah. Although I'm surprised you didn't mention, because I know it's one of your favorite cars. You did some social media on the RWB that was there.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think I said it in the social media. It's probably one of the most polarizing cars out there. And if you know, all right, let's say what it is. It's a body kit. That's a very cool body kit. To many, to others, it's not. But where people, I think, have the biggest heartache about it is because you are kind of cutting into the original fenders, and
There's no kind of. You are.
There's no kind of. You are cutting into it and putting on this wide body kit. Now this Nakai-san out of Japan, he loved taking, he was in the JDM scene, and then he created this kit for Porsches, and there's a loyal following for these. But the thing with RWBs, I think, where most people, again, they probably first start with the criticism of you're hacking up a car, but then the second part of it is most people say, oh, it's just for looks, and there's nothing to kind of stand behind such an aggressive looking car. While the RWB that was over at TPC had the famous body kit on it, had a very nice interior, but it also packed a punch under the rear deck lid because it was a 964 that TPC had did a custom turbo system in the early 90s, I believe it was, and that car puts out about 500 horsepower. So it was cool to see an RWB fully built and have the power to match its looks. And I think it's gotten pretty good.
I would love to be invited to one of these RWB build parties.
Yeah.
Let's say comes to your
Sure.
place.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you give them a case of beer and a pack of cigarettes?
So you definitely have to give him a special, like, lazy boy chair, unlimited supply of cigarettes, an air hose so that he connect his Sawzall to, and he goes to town. And he's I've met him before. I met him at SEMA. He is just a super down to earth guy. I mean, grease in his nails that will probably never ever come clean. Hair kind of disheveled. Very polite gentleman. And it's just, what he does serves a very niche market, and people wait in line to get it done to their car, and it's a big event.
And RWB stands for the R is raw wealth, so that's
Big
rough, right?
Rough World.
Wealth is world. What's the B?
Big Griff. Big Griff. I don't know what Big Griff stands. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm gonna look it up here on Translate.
I learned, I didn't know route meant rough until this
Rough
car
world.
steering wheel had on there rough world.
Expression, big grief, expression, rough world, expression.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And I like them. It reminds me of the GT2 a little bit in that it's exposed. It's not really blended into the bodywork. There's a seam there. They want you to see that this thing has flares on it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really cool look. As far as cutting up, well, I've looked at this the same way I look at people who modify 914s. It's always one less original one. Makes mine more rare because mine's original. But it's your car, and do what you want with it.
And I think people also forget the price point of an RWB is much different from, say, the bespoke cars of Gunther Works and Singer, which has probably a longer lead time and much, much higher pricing. But I would say those cars are very jewel-like, whereas RWBs are, well, rough world. I mean, they look cool and all that, but they're drivers. They're not jewel
show
like.
cars,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're not really
they are
show
show
cars.
cars,
They are
but-
show cars because of how wild they look, but they're not show cars because of the build quality, right? And there's some people that's what they like. And
Pretty sure in Japan, and I don't know elsewhere, at least in the past, they would have these meetups, all the idlers meetups. So if you see the idler or idlers on the tires, that's like the group that.
Oh, really?
that
That's what
Python-
learn
Yeah,
something
so
new.
they go to tracks in Japan or possibly elsewhere.
They're
and
drivers,
You'll
yeah.
have like a 10, 20 RWBs hitting the track.
yeah, and
So-
probably the whole idlers on the tires is a great way to show how people treat that car. It's literally like when he puts that masking on the tire, like he's just throwing masking, shoot some white, and like it's not a delicate, it's not a precision install for that, and it's not meant to be, and it gives a very unique look to the car, but it's just let's make it wide, let's put some cool bodywork on it, and let's go drive. I mean, it's very simple. It's not for everyone, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, like I said, I would love to.
I want to
see
drive
in
it.
person.
I would love to drive it.
Yeah.
It was pretty cold out, and obviously the owner wasn't there, so we did not take it out other than just to move it to take some pretty cool shots. All right, so this week, I'm getting ready to head out to Los Angeles for the National Staff Assembly, where we'll meet with our executive council and national volunteers and just kind of go through and talk about what's going on the rest of the year for PCA. And then I'll be heading back because February 24th and 25th, we will be at Tech Tactics East, which I'm happy to report that it looks like we're going to have a full attendance for both days.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty filled. We did a last minute email to the members, and that racked us up about 30 more entries. It's going to be 3 busy weeks for you because we do after you come back from the assembly meeting, then we have Tech Tactics, and then we have Amelia Holland.
Back-to-back weekends.
Yeah, it's
Here we
going
go.
to be a very busy few weekends. But for those of you coming out to Tech Tactics, we look forward to seeing you. It's going to be I'm looking at the weather, crossing my fingers. Everything looks good so far. Kathy Lee told me the Montai GT3 is all scheduled so far, including the I think it was the alignment tool or something that's unique to that car.
Oh, yeah. I want that. But
I'm dying to see the special
God.
alignment tool they're shipping special to.
So in the Montai video that I did have like a little bit of a screenshot of the PDF, which explains what it is. Wow, that's not cheap. That is like a whole tool set that comes in its own tool case with a bunch of sandbags to put into the passenger seat for when you're aligning it, and scales, lasers. You align it with the wheels off, so you just bolt up the alignment
to the
tools to the hubs, and then they rest on the scales, and where you can do corner balancing and all that. Like, I want that.
That's cool.
But so one of the
not going to happen.
One of the topics is about the Porsche tools that Rolf's one of the trainers up there is gonna present. Is after last year during one of the breaks, he was showing us some of the cool tools that the dealers have to buy. Specialty torque wrenches and whatnot. So when we were discussing what to do this year, he had mentioned, I can do something about all the interesting tools that dealers have to buy for specific purposes. And I thought, that sounds pretty cool because I don't think I've seen a video on that. So I'm not sure if they'll do the alignment tool with that presentation or during the Montai GT3 presentation, but Kathy asked me if we wanted the car on a lift, and I said definitely.
Always.
Because these people come for tech information, nothing better than to lift the car up and see. I said, if you can see anything, I'm not sure how much there is to see, but it was pretty cool.
It would be cool to see the GT3 on the alignment tool when it's there. Yeah. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and the guys who work there, I think, want to see it too.
Sure.
Because they haven't seen this tool either.
And this alignment tool set is not required for all Porsche dealerships. It's required for those who want to be a part of the Montai Performance Kit program, where they can install performance kits.
Speaking of alignments, in our last podcast, remember I asked you guys about the AWC active wheel carriers, and so you had actually mentioned you should talk to Mike Levitas because he does the Lamborghini Trofeo side, and he said I've absolutely have heard about it, and I'm just kind of watching to see, it's, I wouldn't say it's proof of concept, but it's watching how it could possibly become more mainstream, because it's obviously not mainstream at the moment. But he says yes, if they're able to design it with durability in mind and be able to individually set camber, caster, toe actively, complete game changer. Game changer.
Yeah. I could see, his DSC Sport.
Oh yeah,
retuning.
Like he's chomping at the bits. Yeah, absolutely. and designing your car's alignment based on either the track or your driving style, but you basically would have the optimum alignment setting for each scenario your car goes into.
Yeah, that shop is Mike's new shop is very impressive, and he's always been at the cutting edge when it comes to the turbocharging, supercharging, and suspension setup. And I'm sure there's not a slow day there. Yeah. Like we went today to do some filming, and they were prepping the GT4 RS Club Sports for I think Sebring, and not just one, but there was 3 of them, and they got to install radios, install data acquisition, get everything set up from what they learned from the first practice session, and like he said, I asked one of the workers there, I said, how long does it take you? And he said it takes a few days for each car, but he said, if we take it to the track and Porsche doesn't like something, then we got to change it on all 3 cars.
Right.
So it's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of work.
Speaking of cutting edge, we always learn something. I want to make sure I mention this correctly so we don't accidentally say too much. But you've heard about shocks that have particles in it, and when you charge the fluid in the shocks, it changes the characteristics of it, right? So magnetic ride,
magnetorheological something.
So that's a ferrous metal that is in that fluid, and as you know, ferrous metals sort of degrade over time. He was just showing us a technology that addresses that. So he's always on the cutting edge and kind of, he's so close to us, but yet he's so free to share with us what they're doing, and it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Somebody asked me, how come you only do stuff with TPC and Bob Miller at Speed?
No.
And I said, because they're like 10 minutes away from the office, and they always call us and say, hey, I think you guys might be interested in this, to do some content. Obviously, Mike has a waiting list of people. Same thing with Bob, people that want to use their services. So it's not like they're looking to sell stuff.
I asked Tom today, who works at TPC, so I'm going to be able to get my diff installed much sooner than I thought. How much lead time do you need? And he's like, as long as it's not a race weekend, then it should only take a day. So
well, much like our studio here, thank you everyone for congratulating us on our 100th episode and suggesting that we upgrade our studio. But we have a budget that we stick to. We feel fortunate that we have what we do have, and as far as going far places to be able to record, it's just between timing and honestly the budget, it's tough for us to do that. So we're very thankful that we have shops in Maryland and Virginia, and some members that are able to share with us, and it's just easy content, so to speak. And so that's why we do it, and that's why we can't go and extend too far. But when we do go far, for example, March 1st we'll be in Florida for Works Reunion Amelia Island. We will take the opportunity to maybe do some stories on some cars there, meet folks. We'll see a ton of our exhibitors and sponsors with their new technologies and products that they provide. So we'll pick up stuff like that when we go to different events there. If you're interested in joining us at Works Reunion Amelia Island, just know that the corral and the judge spots are closed, but you don't need to buy tickets to join. You just need to park in the open parking area to spectate. So certainly do that, and of course check out the PCA store and the membership tent if you stop by.
$40 per car and
$40 per car, exactly.
But spectators are free, so
exactly.
Pile in.
Porsche Parade Phase 1 registration is open, so hopefully we'll see you in Birmingham. We've got a great time planned for you, June 9th through 15th. And want to make sure we also mention Treffin at Sea. As I said last week, we are over 800.
Can we mention who's coming that we know?
I can mention Pirelli's coming. I can mention...
Not vendors, I mean person.
Oh, I can mention Nathan's coming. I can mention...
First name Tony?
What's that?
First name Tony?
Tony's coming to Parade.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Tony Hatter? Yeah. Yes, we can mention that
Nice.
Tony Hatter's coming
I think
to
it's
Parade.
pretty awesome. So Tony Hatter, for those who don't know, designed the GT1, designed the 993, and it looks like he's going to do a presentation. We're going to move Tech Tactics to Wednesday so we can get more of the Porsche people as part of Tech Tactics, and he's going to do at least one session. It's going to be about his career in Porsche and the different designs. I told Kathy Lee from Porsche, she goes, you think it'd be a good topic? I'm like, well, Kathy, I said, we spent an hour on the GT1. So we may need 7 or 8 hours just to hit the tip of the iceberg. But yes, we can do to hear from him tell his side of the
first
story.
8-hour YouTube video.
Yeah. No,
Tony's a great speaker. We've had him at Parade before, and we've had him at Tech Tactics, and just watching him sketch a car freehand,
that's
and
amazing.
talk about how they design cars. But now hearing him tell the, hopefully we'll get some behind-the-scenes stories of some of these designs.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously they are enthusiasts, and they love being around enthusiasts.
He's never been to Parade.
No, he came
I
to
was-
Tech Tactics. He came to Tech Tactics once before, I think.
Yeah, and I was surprised when Kathy said she was surprised too. I'm like, I could have swore he's at Parade.
No.
Save anything he might draw and then make it into a T-shirt, because that was my favorite Tech
We
Tactics
did.
T-shirt.
Yeah, we.
back
Oh,
in the
yeah,
day.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I think we can also mention that Grant's coming too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Grant Larson.
Yep. It's
So-
going to be a fun
Oh yeah.
fun time for
So those are just two
seminars.
little highlights for Porsche Parade. So we're really really suggest you sign up and go. And there's some more things that we have planned that we will announce a little bit later. Same thing with Trefnet C. We've got some great guest speakers that are coming. So if you haven't signed up for either of them, please do so soon. And let's see, I want to make sure I give a plug for PCA Sim Racing, because they have been actively racing and doing EDEs, and they have all sorts of activities. Check out PCASimRacing.com. You can look at the current activities list and learn all about what you need to do to get set up to race from your, say, living room, bedroom, or wherever you might set it up. We also have, make sure we plug the web store. Robert, if you would throw up, we have the PCA Podcast Insider t-shirt, mugs, and water bottles. And of course, if you're looking for PCA decals, just send a note to us. Get a Insider Podcast sticker by emailing podcast@pca.org, and we'll ship them out to you. Anything else before we wrap up, gentlemen? All good? Well, thank you for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, what are you waiting for? Grab that VIN, head over to PCA.org, and we'll set you up. If you're looking for that special Porsche for your driveway or garage, we also have the test drive program, again, at PCA.org. Remember to follow us at podcast, Instagram page, behind the scenes photos and videos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. We love reading your comments. Be sure to give us a like. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road.